Hey there. So this is week two of an SDR's journal. First off, really appreciate if you had a chance to check out week one and really appreciate the support. I generally enjoy making these videos, so I don't like this is fun to me. So with the fact that got some support on this, really appreciate it. The past week has been quite an interesting one. Let's say the 3 weeks before that, I have had some level of success booking demos. This past week was one of the first weeks at least in my short tenure, where I haven't booked anything. And these are the weeks when, you really kind of have to take a step back and sort of, I guess this is my first point that I was going to make, one of my first lessons, which one of my like personal sort of like favorite content creators out there, his name is Alex Hermosi. You may have heard of him. Talks a lot about business, sales, marketing. And he mentioned this one phrase that's kind of like stuck with me, where he says the world belongs to those who can keep doing without seeing the results of their doing. And I literally have that as like my phone wallpaper, because like my background screen, because I just found like that speaks to me personally, is that you kind of like trust the, sounds cliche, but like, yeah, trust the process instead of the outcome. And I felt like I heard that trust the process instead of the outcome for like the last 5 to 6 years of my life. And I felt like I only truly realized its importance, or like really got a sense of it, when I started a sales career, or when I started a sales job, especially as an SDR. So yeah, lesson one is sort of just focusing on the controllables that you can control, because you'll have good weeks, you'll have bad weeks, and I know I spoke about this in the previous video, about celebrating your wins. But in those weeks where, or those months when things aren't going according to plan, yes, you do your post-mortem, you figure out what's going wrong potentially, but also realize that there are only certain controllables that you can't control. So that's lesson number one. I'm going to say it again: the world belongs to those who can keep doing without seeing the benefits that they're doing. Just love that quote personally. The second thing that's been really interesting, is that, and I heard about this from someone internally, was that if you don't speak to the 2 to 3 key priorities that a senior exec has that quarter or that year, you're less likely to get a reply. So, for example, you're reaching out to a VP of sales, and it's a super customized and personalized email. It's relevant, it's personalized, whatever. But if it doesn't speak to their 2 or 3 key priorities that they have within that quarter a year, they may be interested, and they may be like, this sounds really interesting, because they're getting a bunch of outreach. But if this doesn't speak to those key priorities, they're less likely to get a reply. And that just kind of, I mean, I literally like heard about this last week, and it just got my wheels churning with that. How can you constantly try to tailor your outreach around those key priorities? So for example, some ways to find those key priorities include, like, if it's a large company, you have like 10K reports, press releases potentially. Like, for example, a lot of companies will have a press release where they'll like announce their like Q2 financial results, and there'll be like a couple of quotes from like the CEO about, how they're tracking towards their goals that they set for themselves. So then picking up those goals and then kind of relating your product offering to that. And another interesting one that I guess I'm starting to try a bit more now is to like call up lower level employees, like cold call lower level employees within the company, and basically to ask them like, um, what is your VP in your year about, constantly, or sort of, what are, even directly asking like, what are some of the key priorities that the company is focusing on, the sales team is focusing on. So that's something that I'm still, the last one, calling up lower level employees, I'm still exploring that a bit more. But those are 3 different ways that I've found have been helpful in finding those key priorities. And lastly, I'd say the last lesson that I learned this past week was your Gong. So if you have a tool like Gong, there's a bunch of other tools out there, but internally where I'm at, we have Gong. Um, your Gong archive of like demo recordings is so key, and like a gold mine to like pick up your prospects like exact language that they're using. So a really interesting point. This could be like discoveries that you're having as an SDR, or in demos that your AEs are having. Interesting point was, so at Loopio, we sell to one of our use cases is that we sell to CISOs, like chief information security officers and infosec teams, to basically automate. They get a lot of security questionnaires, and these security questionnaires can really take away from, them doing a lot of their core security, information security tasks. So with Loopio, basically, we help those teams automate the security questionnaires. And I remember there was a demo that I'd booked, and the AE was on the demo, and I was listening to the call and also reading the transcript, and the infosec individual that was on the call mentioned this one interesting thing where that person was like, if I'm able to automate responding to these questionnaires, that could help me be an actual security guy. And that was like specific things that person mentioned, which when you start to use in your outreach, you automatically come off as more relatable, and you're again more likely to boost your reply rates. So those are three things that kind of have been top of mind over the last week or so. And yeah, there's definitely been more lessons, but I thought there's three really interesting ones. Hopefully this helps in your journey as an SDR, as an AE, or just generally in sales. And yeah, thanks a lot. And thank you so much for listening. If you're listening to this right at the end of this, take care.